Simple interest is for when you borrow money, there's a cost to borrowing money, and you have to pay the bank back. So the bank doesn't loan you money for free, okay? So here's a way you can find out how much money you're gonna owe the bank if you borrow money from them, or if somebody borrows money from you. So the formula that you'll use for that is I-PERDY, because I-PERDY. Each of these letters represent a part of interest. The I stands for interest. That's the cost of borrowing, or cost of somebody else to borrow from you. You can make money off of them. Somebody borrows money from you, charge them interest. The P stands for principal. Not principal like the leader of your school, but the first amount you borrowed. How much you need to pay back. So if I borrowed $8,000 from Brianna, then I need to pay that back. That's the principal. She'll also charge me interest, so I'll have to pay a little extra back for the cost of borrowing from her. Principal is the original amount. R, little lowercase r, is the rate. It's usually given to you as a percent, like 3%, let's say. But I always change it right away into a decimal because that's 3 out of 100, right? And if you divide 3 by 100, you're going to get 0.03. So right away, I bounce that decimal 2 spots over and deal with it, okay? So I'm going to leave that like that for you. And T represents time. How long before you need to pay that money back, okay? There is another type of interest, compound interest, because sometimes you're paying it back little by little, like I am with most of my loans. But for the purposes of this, we're going to assume that you paid it back in this amount of time and there wasn't interest being added as you went. You just have the original interest. So now that you know what these are, and you have that written down, I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to give you a sample problem. Let's say I borrowed $8,000 from George. And he says, okay, Mrs. Sanchez, you can borrow $8,000 from me, but I'm going to charge you a rate of 7% interest, and you have to have it paid back to me in 2 years. So by the time George is in 9th grade, I've got to pay him back, okay? So I would go ahead and take this information and plug it into this formula I-PERDY, okay? So I don't know what the interest is going to be. I'd like to know how much I'm going to have to pay him back. But I know the principal amount, the first amount that I borrowed, is $8,000. And I know the rate is 7%, right? That's 7% divided, that's going to be 0.07. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it to 0.07 right away. And I know the time that I need to pay it back in is 2 years. And now I'm just going to do my math. George, get your calculator ready for me, please. I'm just going to do my math because this is now just a math problem. So way back in 6th grade, we talked about plug-and-play problems. This is simply a plug-and-play problem. You just have to remember, when you're dealing with simple interest, I-PERDY. So, George, can I get, well, I can do this one. I'm going to do 8,000 times 2, which is 16,000. One step at a time, right? One waffle bite at a time. George, can you get me 16,000 times 0.07? I don't want to owe you that much money. Do it again, please. That's 11,200 is too much. 16,000 times 0.07. Oh, that's much better. Okay. 1,100. Let me see that again. $20. What this means is my interest for borrowing money from George is $1,120. I still have to pay him back his $8,000, but I also have to give him the fee, the interest, for borrowing money from him. So now I will have to pay him back a total of $9,120.
They'll buy a card.
As long as I know 3 of these things, I can solve the whole thing. Sometimes you'll get the interest, principal, and rate, and you have to find out how long the loan is. Sometimes you'll get the principal rate, or I'm sorry, the rate, time, and interest, and you have to find out how much the principal is. But it's a plug and play game. Take those 3 items, plug them in, and solve. You've got the skills to do that. Okay? Now you do it.